In this video, I will share my complete framework and methodology that I have used to pick my own niche, that I use to help my clients pick the most profitable niche they can pick. And you can basically implement this system today to pick a very, very good niche for your own agency. So without further ado, let me get to it. All right, welcome to niche selection. In this video, I will basically sort of go through this resource, which is called niche selection. And basically a high level view is just first, we have some explanations to why we think you should have a niche and a niche down. And basically sort of show you our paradigm when talking about niches and why it is a good idea, especially if you have any form of marketing agency. So let's get into it. Introduction. Having a niche will make your business 100 times easier to operate and will allow you to make 100 times more money in the long term. In this resource, we will go over why and how you should select a niche for your business. Specialist over generalist. So by having one niche, you can spend so much more time understanding that niche and how to actually solve its problems. And this will lead you to sort of standing out as a specialist in your field compared to your competitors who are generalists. So of course, if you only have one specific area you are serving, you will of course, over all the time you're working with them, sort of understand that specific niche more. And of course, you will then also be better at solving their specific problems. So as an example, let's say you need to get brain surgery. You get to pick between two doctors that will make the surgery on you. The first one is a general doctor. He can do a little bit of everything, but isn't a specialist. The second doctor is a specialized brain surgeon with lots of experience in the exact surgery you need. Which one do you pick? And if you want the best odds of the surgery going well, you'll probably choose the second doctor. And it's the same in business. So let's say, imagine you are the owner of a plumbing business and are looking to work with an agency to get more plumbing jobs. So would you rather work with an agency that serves everybody or the agency that specializes in generating more jobs for plumbing business only? Who do you actually think can solve your problem the best? And I can assure you that you'll always make more money being the best in your field compared to being average in all of them. And here is sort of something you might think right now, or what people often say when they hear that they should niche down. But I don't want to limit myself to one niche. Only having one niche means that I have a smaller target audience. However, a good niche to target have at least 30,000 different potential clients for you. We will talk about more later how you should actually pick your niche. So are you telling me that 30,000 prospects are too little for you? So let's say your goal is to get to $100,000 per month and you're selling something for 2.5K per month. And this means you need 40 clients to sort of achieve the 100,000 per month. And 40 out of 30,000 is about 0.133%, which means you only need to sign 0.133% of the entire market to reach your goal. So no, having one niche won't limit your business. Quite the contrary. You'll be able to sign more clients because you've chosen to become a specialist, and specialists always have authority. So that's basically just short why you should be a specialist over a generalist. Operational drag. So this is credit to Charlie Morgan. It's basically a concept I've heard from him, which is very, very logical and makes sense. So I'm going to explain it to you. So having one niche simplifies your business in many ways. The term operational drag means that the more versions you need of a specific part of your business, the more complex the business gets to operate. And the parts of your business that create the most operational drag are your niche and your service slash product. So here we have two examples. Agency A. This agency have one niche, one product, and one offer. So these are the sort of, these two are sort of the biggest ones, as I said here. And this sort of determines if you're actually able to keep everything else in your business low. So after this is just examples. So let's say yeah, this agency has one niche and one product, which means they can have one offer, they can have one email copy, one booking link, one contract, one sales call script, one onboarding link, one CRM, one pricing, and one lead list, one follow-up process, one pitch. Of course, there are many more parts in your business, but this is just example. And to show you that if you have one niche and one product, you're sort of able to have one specific thing of most sort of parts in your business. And if we then take 1 times all these sort of parts here, we get 1, of course, because 1 times 1 is 1. But then we take agency B. And this agency, they have sort of niched down a little bit, but they have said, all right, we are targeting 3 different niches. And they still have one product, but they're again doing it for 3 different niches. So that sort of means you still need 3 of everything, because you can have an offer. If you offer the same thing to every single niche, the other, like might make sense for the first niche, but then the 2 other niches, it won't really make sense because you're using wording and messaging that aren't sort of relevant to the niche you're actually targeting. So you'll need to create 3 different offers. You need to have 3 different email copies, because if you want to create a good copy, it needs to be relevant to the niche. And again, if you want to sort of get results with this, you need to create 3 different email copies so it resonates to the target niche. You need 3 different booking links, because if it seems like it's just strange if you have like one link and maybe you say in one niche that we serve this type of niche, but then they are actually from another niche. It would just sort of confuse them. So you will have to need to have 3 booking links. You need to have 3 different contracts, because like you would probably not, if you have some form of guarantees of like specific type of clients you will bring them or anything like that, you will sort of need to write that in the contract. And since you're on 3 different niches, you need to have 3 different contracts. Sales call script, again, to sort of have a script that actually resonates with the niche, the wording and the things you're saying must be relevant to the target niche. So here you need 3 again, 3 onboarding links, and you can sort of get the point. Instead, you need 3 of everything. So if we then take sort of and multiplies all these together, as we've done here, we instead of 1, we get 531,441. So of course, this is just like a theory. This is not how it works in reality. Of course, if you compare these 2 agencies, it won't be 531,441 times harder to operate. However, I hope you get the point that I mean, because as long as you sort of add stuff to add different parts, it just gets messy and more complicated. So even having 3 niches compared to only 1 creates a massive difference in operational drag. Can you now see how complex it gets when you try to scale a business with multiple niches? A generalist can still operate decently, being relatively small, but as soon as you try to scale, it gets, in my opinion, unnecessarily complicated. Business is already complicated as it is. Why make it even more? All right, so next thing is what we call a starving crowd. And this is credited to Gary Hilbert, a very, very good sort of, he's basically a copywriter. He's quite old now, I believe, but he was sort of one of the pioneers in copywriting, I believe. And also Alex Hermoso for this, because he brings this up in his book. So yeah, this far we've talked about why you should select a niche, and now we'll talk about how you should select your niche. So hopefully by this time you understand why it's in your best interest to actually pick a niche. There's a story about the legendary copywriter Gary Hilbert that goes something like this. So one time Hilbert asked some students, imagine you're all opening a hamburger stand. What is the biggest advantage you would like to have for your stand? The students they said multiple answers, such as having a secret sauce, high quality meat, a great location, but Hilbert couldn't hear the answer he was looking for. He then said, you're missing the most important thing, a starving crowd. So your job is to find that starving crowd who can't live without what it is you have to offer. And this means that you should pick a niche that is sort of your starving crowd. Your prospects shouldn't just have a want for your offer, they should have a desperate need. So what I want to say with this is that you need to sort of create your whole agency and your service and everything around your market. You can't sort of expect to pick a market, then just have whatever service you are comfortable with and expect the market to sort of want and need that service. You like the market is already created, it's already done, it's already existing, and you can't affect what the market really wants. What you can do, however, is you can understand and see what the market wants, and then you can tailor your solutions, your services towards and sort of align that properly. And if you do that, you will make a ton of money. Indicators for selecting a niche. So here are just some indicators to look at when selecting a niche. So first one, we already spoke about this a little bit before here, but it is massive pain/need. So the prospects in your niche shouldn't just want your offer, they should have a desperate need for it. Second one, purchasing power. The prospects in your niche should be able to afford or at least have access to the money needed to buy your offer. An example, again, in Alex Ramones' book, $100 Million Offer, I think he has an example with one of his friends who sort of created a service for newspaper companies. However, like he didn't realize that the newspaper companies were slowly but surely going, like the amount of companies were going down each year, and they sort of, it went worse and worse for them. So he wasn't sort of in a good market. And that, yeah, it was like another example is, let's say, I think I also mentioned it in the book, but let's say a student. So even though you might have a very, very good sort of service that students need, however, students are generally known for not having that much money. So then it will be really, really hard for you to actually charge a high price because your target audience sort of don't have and like access to that money, if that makes sense. 3, easy to target. The prospects in your niche should be easy to find and contact about your offer. So yeah, it's just common sense. Like you should be able to find them, and preferably online. 4, yeah. So here is when like the paper companies is a better example here. So growing, the niche should be growing every year because you of course want to be in this for the long run, not just in a couple of years. So if you're in a market that are like getting smaller each year, you probably won't be able to sort of have a successful agency in the long run. Enough volume. And I touched on this a little before, but the niche should have enough prospects for you to reach out to, at least 30,000. And I believe most niches have over 30,000. And of course, the more the better. But yeah, so you can't sort of pick a very, very, very specific niche with, let's say, 1,000 people in, because you won't, of course, be able to, first of all, find all of them, and you won't be able then to book a call with all of them, and you won't be able to close all of them. So just give yourself enough sort of leads to actually target and be able to close. And 6, competitors succeeding. So most people, they are afraid of competition, but when selecting a niche, it can be a good sign. So if there are competitors that succeed, it means that it's a proven niche. Of course, the competition shouldn't be outrageous to the point where you need to make unreasonable promises to even have a chance. So yeah, let me elaborate. So of course, like you don't want too much competition, but some form of competition is a good sign, because then you know beforehand then that it is actually possible to create an agency and actually succeed in that specific niche. Because like, don't get me wrong, you can of course find a niche you don't like, you don't have any competitors and still succeed. However, it's more risky because like you're going into a niche that no one have even tried or sort of succeeded in before, and there might be some sort of factors that might be the cause to that. Since nowadays, like there are so many agencies out there are mostly agencies in most niches, and then it can be sort of a red flag if you find one which don't have any agencies sort of make like doing good for themselves. However, again, of course it can work, it's just a little bit riskier to enter such a market. And none of these indicators are absolutely necessary, but they sure help a lot if your goal is to make more money. I recommend setting some time aside to seriously think about your niche selection, because once you've picked, you should stick with it at least for a year. And the reason for this is that it takes time to understand your niche, their true desires, and their biggest pain points. The better you understand your niche, the better results you will see. And the harder it is in the beginning, the more of your competition will give up. So the ones who resist and persist will see all the glory. So when you have finally selected your niche, I want you to make a contract with yourself that you will stick with that niche for at least 1 year before you're allowed to switch. Because let's say, for an example, you enter a niche and you're quite sort of motivated in the beginning, it's new, you're quite pumped up, and you start doing outreach and sort of testing that niche. And like, of course, it's unreasonable to think that as soon as I enter a new niche, I will see immediate results. So then, but this is actually what most people believe. So then they just get discouraged and always blame the niche they blame the niche for not seeing success. So then they think that actually switching a niche will sort of improve how much they're making, or so they can see more success. But the truth is that the longer you stick to a niche, the more likely you are to actually succeed. So yeah, I just recommend to stick with it if you at least know it is possible to succeed in that niche, and you've actually put some effort into selecting that niche, as I said here, and which I think you should do now, and make sort of make the decision and sort of make enough research. I explain a little bit more about research down here. But once you've picked and sort of make a rational decision, you should then just stick with it, because if you go after these indicators, it will be a profitable niche. All right, bonus tip: case study / testimonials. So if you are, let's say, a generalist agency and want to niche down, consider picking a niche where you already have good case studies / testimonials. You will get a very, very good head start. So yeah, just if you have, let's say, either many case studies for one specific niche, or maybe one really, really good one for one niche, consider choosing that niche, because case studies and testimonials just give you a head start in that niche. Niche research. So as I said before, the better you understand your niche, the more results you will see. I always recommend making as much research as possible when you are new to a niche. And here are some examples of what I think is important to figure out. So yeah, some examples. What outreach platforms will be the most effective? For example, let's say you're in the plumbing niche. How much time a day do you think a plumber spends on LinkedIn per day? Probably not that much. Therefore, LinkedIn might not be the best outreach method for this niche. Best way to source leads. Can I use lead services online, or do you need to get a lead sourcer? And of course, if you're working with me, I will help you with all of this, but this is just good ways to sort of think about, because I can tell you now, if you are sort of in a niche that are selling anything online, you can usually get away with using lead providers online and sort of services. Examples are like Apollo. There are many more, but then you can sort of find quite many leads for your niche. However, let's take the plumbing again as an example. If you want to sort of target plumbers, I can tell you now, Apollo won't be the best way for you to go, and then it's just better to get a lead sourcer. All right, moving on. What are their desires? What are their pain points? And how can your products and service improve their life? Do they appreciate formal or informal messaging? So in my experience, the best niche research is having sales calls with the prospects in your niche. Ask the right questions and you will understand more and more about your niche. So again, by time you will understand more about your specific niche. Last words. So become a specialist, not a generalist. Make your business as simple as possible with one niche. Choose your niche wisely. And when you've decided, stick with it. Aim to be the one who understands your niche the best, because if you do this, I promise by time you will see tremendous success. And yeah, this is just basically a not that long video, but sure info packed, I'm sure, and with sort of our paradigm here at X Section Agency to what we think about niches. So yeah, hope you enjoyed.